Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Legacy Studio right here at the Out West Art Show and Sale. Speaking of sale, that's happening in the other room right now. You will hear that in the background. Bear with us. We know you'll hear us okay over that. So there's a lot to talk about. The show's been crazy. And Tim, how are you doing so far, man?
Doing great.
How's your show?
Great. It's fantastic. I always love coming here. You know, I know a lot of people say it all the time, but one thing about this show is it's truly the best Western artist in the country.
By far.
And I feel like every time that I'm here, I'm walking among giants.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So I was just talking with Chip Jones.
Yeah.
And he also said, you're walking among giants.
Well, you know,
That
Chip
is
and I have
the
been
line.
friends for 20 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is the only Western art show that I've ever done, other than one other one that I did 20 years ago,
Yeah.
about 20 years ago, with Chip in Las Vegas during the National Finals Rodeo.
Really?
And that's where we met. We've been friends, and he helped facilitate me actually coming here 3 years ago for the
That's
first time.
incredible.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
So what do you think? What do you think of this show? Because this is so interesting to have your own room to get, have your gallery or have your room to do your jewelry or whatever the case may be. This is an incredible place.
Oh, it's terrific. I mean, it's so very cool because, you know, the shows that I typically do are the high-end Native American fine art shows.
Right.
So a lot of museums and
Yes.
different things like that. So a lot of times you're out underneath an overhang or a tent or something like that, and you're setting up your booth. Here it's great because everything's climate controlled and you
Yes.
don't really have a lot of bleed over for sound or anything like that. And it really makes for an intimate setting for, you know, people to be able to communicate with the artist, but also for us to be able to communicate with our customers
Yes.
and get to know them and develop a relationship. It's
Yes.
fantastic.
I agree.
I mean, I've only been coming here 3 years, and there are so many people that keep coming back
Yeah.
year after year after year.
Yeah. And don't you love it when they recognize you and you're like, yes.
Oh, no, I love it when they come in and they go, hey, you remember when I got this from you?
Yeah.
I go, yeah, you got that like 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what you do now. You were in the Quick Finish. the
I
other
was.
day,
I
and
was on
what-
Thursday night.
What were you working on?
I was working on a piece of jewelry. You know, again, my first quick finish ever. Never done that before.
How did it go?
It was great. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So what I did was I did a pendant on a chain, and I had some overlaid gold on it, and I actually cut a piece of turquoise. It was Bisbee turquoise, which is really, really rare and really, really desirable. I actually cut it, shaped it, polished it, and set it in a half hour. Yeah, I didn't think I was going to be able to do it. I wasn't sure.
That is awesome. And it's a very unique. Excuse the chairs and things. They got a couple things going on around here as they're getting set up for something else. So you're going to hear a little bit of movement going on. We apologize about that. Now, can I ask you? My eye keeps going to your. Is that a bolero? Is that the proper term for it?
Balotelli? Yeah.
That is gorgeous, man.
Thank you.
And that's
Thank you.
that's your make as well. I
It
would assume?
is, yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that thing, man.
Yeah, it's a buffalo horse mask,
I love it.
and so it's got 14 karat gold cast horns. They're solid cast horns,
Sheesh.
and you know it's all fabricated. I don't. About the only thing that I have in my room right now that I've cast are the horns on this buffalo.
So let me ask you, what got you into jewelry? What got you into this very specific niche?
Well, it's not only jewelry that I do, but even a more specific niche, which is Native American flutes.
Okay, fair enough.
You know, and that's where I started. I started with that. I started out, you know, just as a thing. My grandfather was one of the last of the old-time Comanche flute players.
Really?
Yeah, and my grandmother loved it. She loved it. It was the craziest, coolest thing when he would play for her. She would just like melt and just turn into this lovesick teenager, you know. And so when my grandfather passed away, I couldn't imagine her going through the rest of her life without hearing that for her.
Yeah.
So I had one of these days moments. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
One of these days I'm gonna
Yeah. ...
One of these days I'm gonna learn how to play flute for my grandma, and I did. The problem was I was collecting flutes all over the country from all kinds of different makers. They didn't sound like my granddad's
Right.
flutes. So I thought, okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to start making them. I'm going to have to figure this out. And I did, you know, over the course of a couple of years, and working by day and and working in the studio at night till God knows when.
Yeah. Well, don't we all? We
Yeah,
all do the God
yeah.
knows when.
And so that happened, and started a little business. And I was thinking it was going to be for, just for retirement, travel money and stuff like that.
Right.
And things just kept growing and growing and growing, and at some point I ended up walking away from my 30-year career, to become a full-time artist.
Can I ask what your 30-year career was?
I was in sales and sales management, sales training. I was in the RV business for many, many years in Las Vegas.
Wow.
And it was a great gig. It was a lot of fun. Met so many wonderful people. It's funny because it's not so much different from art shows.
No, I don't. You have
because you
to
build
be
a relationship with them,
Yes.
and you talk about goals, and you talk about what they're looking for,
Right.
And so in that way, it was a really, really easy transition.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew a lot about business. I knew how to run a business. I knew how to do this and that. But then when I became an artist, it was like, how do you write an artist resume? How do you write an artist statement? I had no idea, because the business of business, but the business of art is completely different.
Completely different.
Yeah, so I had to navigate those waters over the years and things like that. But I had a lot of help and a lot of mentors that really were gracious to me along the way. So
That's the only way you're going to make it. That's
absolutely.
the only way you're going to make it.
I couldn't have done it on my own. I mean, my grandmother was a full-time silversmith, but she was gone by then.
Right.
And so, if it wasn't for a little help from my friends, I would have never made it. I probably would have ended up back in a boardroom, training salespeople.
Yeah. Which the sales techniques and things like that. I've listened to those books on tape and such of the greats in sales, and they are very necessary techniques that can be very beneficial to us in this.
Absolutely, but I think it still all comes down to relationships.
No, I would very much agree with that. Very much agree with that.
I love the fact that my collectors and my clients, they become friends, and sometimes it's like family. And they come back year and year. In fact, that's how I started doing jewelry.
Yeah.
So I had a collector back east, and she was collecting my flutes, and she knew my background because we were friends over the years. And she said, "I want to get a new flute." Okay, great. Yeah. Awesome. What do you want?
Happy to help.
What do you want? And she said, "Well, I want a silver turtle on this flute. Can you do it?" Absolutely, I can do it. I didn't own one metalworking tool.
But that's what we do. That's what we do.
You bet I can do it. In fact, you know what? I should carve out the shell in the back and inlay malachite in it,
Oh!
And she's like, yeah. And I go, and a turtle like that should have black diamond eyes. And she's like, yeah. And she goes, can you make me a necklace to match? Absolutely.
Can I have 6 years to do this, please?
I go, do you want a single strand or a multi-strand? She's like, a multi-strand. I said, okay, done. She goes, well, when do you think it'll be ready? I don't know. There's silence on the end of the phone. She's like, okay. Well, how much do you think it's going to cost?
I don't know.
I have no clue. Silence, right? And then she goes, like this little devilish voice goes, let's do it.
Oh, I love it.
And
Those
that's how
are good
I got,
friends.
And that's how I got back
Yes.
into jewelry. And it was 100% trust in her, in my ability, in my skills.
Yes.
Or the knowledge that if I didn't have that skill set, that I would learn it to make it happen.
And that's the best part, though, when you get that person that trusts you.
And I got a lot of them. I am so lucky. Oh my God, yeah.
And that's here's what I've liked about this show so far. They asked me, come and bring your show here to the show.
Right.
And I'm like, yes, I'm all in. I'll bring my show. We'll do our interviews. They haven't told me a darn thing to do. And it's beautiful when they're like, I trust you.
Yep.
Be you and succeed.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And,
I love it.
And really, we're really, people talk about competition in arts and stuff like that.
Yes.
Really, we're really only in competition with ourselves,
Right.
And it's inspiring as I walk around here. I mean, I've been a professional artist now full time, for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I walk around here, and I mean, I've known Chip for so many years, and DG House. That's my sister.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
got her
yeah.
on. She is. Oh my gosh, she's sweet.
I know.
Dude.
You know
She's
what I
awesome.
always say? She got all the talent in the family, and I'm just riding her coattails. And proud to be doing
Well,
it.
once again, the sweetest souls make the most success, and she is doing wonderful.
She's amazing.
Yeah, she
I
is.
love her to death. But but you walk around and you not only are you progressing, but even these other artists, techniques are changing, or subject matter is changing, and it's just they're all a constant source of inspiration. It just feels like we're feeding on each other in
Yes.
a really, really positive manner,
Yes.
and really bringing something beautiful to the table. And it's
100%.
exciting to watch. It's even more exciting to be a part of it.
I agree. The show will be over by the time people see this, which is such a shame because we look forward to this all year long.
I'll be back next year.
2025, baby.
Yeah.
Yep.
Heck yeah.
Now let's talk a little bit about how people can see your work online.
Well, let's see. You can go to my YouTube channel.
Hey,
I have a YouTube channel with over 100 videos on it.
Yes.
Just go on YouTube and search my name, Tim Blueflint.
I'm going to be looking at it because I'm
Pop
a YouTuber
right up.
myself.
And you'll find a lot of stuff. You'll find, I was on a show one time called this little old show called How It's Made.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah, I was on that. That's a whole other story that
whole
we're gonna have
nother
to
life.
talk about another time.
Perfect.
But it was when I was just making flutes at the time. It was right after I went full-time art,
That's amazing.
and it happened.
That's awesome.
Pretty soon I'll have some stuff uploaded. I'm supposed to be getting some new video. Last November
Yeah.
I played with the symphony in Central California.
Really?
Yeah, down by Paso Robles.
Wow.
So they commissioned me to make a flute, and my flutes are all concert tuned.
Oh yeah.
And then just walk in cold and play with the symphony for one night. That was cool. So there's going to be footage of that coming up.
Wow.
You can also go to my website, timblueflint.com,
Okay.
and I'm on all the social media channels.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Tim, it's a pleasure to meet you,
Tim,
my friend.
thanks. I appreciate it, man. This was cool, man.
Thank you very much.
You're a good interview.
And as a,
So how long
thank
you been doing this?
Oh gosh, forever. I mean, this is not an interview about me.
All right, you caught me.
It's not an interview about me. But my dad was a television radio broadcaster for 21 years in the Air Force.
Okay.
I watched him every night on the TV.
Right.
He began volunteering in radio stations when he wasn't in the Air Force. He'd pull me in, and I'd be doing voiceover work with him as a kid.
Right on.
I worked in radio in Orlando, Florida, and then right after that I became a caricature artist at Disney World. And so that's where my art form started. And
Wow.
then I took on classical art as well. Moved here to Montana, worked in radio for 5 years, morning host on KINX morning show, and social media guy. So I've always had my face or my voice somewhere in
You know what, dude? You got a whole lot more experience of what you do than what I do. I mean, I'm self-taught. I've never been to art. I had a semester of art in high school.
Well, I will be-
And yet, at one point, I taught a master class at Purdue University.
Really?
On applied physics and how it affects the Native American flute.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I hated math.
I do too.
I didn't see any sense in it. I was never going to use it.
But I'll tell you this. One of my other passions is I produce music.
Oh, nice.
Yes, I have a little studio in my basement. I do a lot of electronic dance music. I like stuff with a lot of vibes and things. And I love sampling instruments. So as you talk about things like the flute, especially Native American flutes and such, you have my peaks completely interested.
Well, you said you worked at Disney World.
Yes, sir.
Right? So, one of my longest friends, and he's the most amazing musician and composer you've never heard of, used to work at Disney.
Really?
And his wife now, well, they've been married for years and years and years, but she was a dancer at Disneyland, at Disney World. That's where they met. But he's actually sampled my flutes because he plays electronic wind instruments.
Yes.
Yeah, so he sets up his own
So he's got-
synths. He sets up his own synths and he does his own samples and everything. And
Did he put them online to make them available?
no, he uses
just
them for his
sampled
own
them for himself.
recordings and stuff.
Darn you. I thought I had an in. Thanks, bud. Appreciate that. Got my eyes on
Do
you.
what I can. Yeah.
You are a pleasure.
Thanks, man.
Thank you so very
Yeah,
much.
I really enjoyed it. Thank
Good.
you very
Thank
much.
you. Folks, Out West Art Show. I want you to set your clocks for 2025.
We'll
We
be
will
here.
see you then, and we're so excited already. Yes, we got a lot of packing up to do. We're gonna really, we gotta take a breather for a couple weeks. We gotta relax and recuperate, but then we immediately get to work for next year.
Yep, absolutely.
That's it. So we'll
All
see you
right.
next year,
Thank you,
2025.
guys.
Go check out this
All right,
amazing guy.
man.
There we go.
Cool.